So today I wanted to talk about infinity. Infinity is such a very interesting concept in mathematics. It creates a lot of paradoxes and it's just so interesting. So what I wanted to talk today was what happens when you double the infinity. In other words, infinity plus infinity. What is that? Oops. Infinity plus infinity. What does this equal to? Also, what does it even mean to add infinity? So, there's this thing, when I was a kid, there was this one time I was having a fight with my friend, and I said something like, "Oh, I'll hit you," and he said something like, "Well, I'll hit you twice," and I said, "Well, I'll do that 10 times," and he said 100, and we just kept going, and I said, "I'll hit you an infinite number of times." Infinite number of times. So that's like a weird concept, right? Like clearly we understand what the person was trying, what I was trying to say, but at the same time, that's impossible. Like, how would you hit someone an infinite number of times? That's not even possible. But we can kind of understand it as a concept. And he said something like, he'll do it, like he'll double it. He'll hit me an infinite number of times and an infinite more of that. So infinity plus infinity. And mathematically, this is interesting because we started from like 1, 2, 10, 100. So we're, increasing the number of times that we were going to hit each other. When I said infinite, it was clearly more than whatever the number that he said before that. But is infinity plus infinity bigger than infinity? So I'll write that down. Infinite plus infinite. Is this bigger than infinite? Because if it wasn't, whatever he said wouldn't make much sense, because that means we'd be hitting each other the same number of times, which is not a very good thing to happen. But so one way to think about this is this is something that you might learn if you decide to major in math in college, in probably some like a basic analysis class. But I'll just try to break it down. So basically, what we want to do first is create a set. So I said an infinite number of punches or kicks or whatever that I was gonna do. So let's create a set. So this is the first punch or whatever that is, and then the second punch. So punch number 2, and punch number 3, punch number 4, and if I keep going, I will have an infinite number of punches on him. So this is a set of infinite punches. And then, how would you double this? How can you double this set? So one thing you can do is just first simply copy this. 4, 5, and it keeps going. I'll just add a couple more here. Actually, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I'm obviously not gonna write too many of those. And then, so these are, so both of them right now, this side and this side, they have the exact same number of elements in it, right? It's pretty clear they both have an infinite number of things in it. So let's see, how can we double? How to double this set? So one way to do this is to create another element in between each pair of adjacent elements. So what I can do is, maybe I'm just gonna call it 1.5, punch number 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. And then if I see the whole thing as a set, if I see the whole thing as a set, then I obviously doubled. So right now, this set is infinite plus infinite. Well, another way to think about this is 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. So really it's just, 1, 2, 3, 4 with 0.5 after each of them. So you can make an argument that this and this has the same number of elements. Cool. So the second one, this is infinite plus infinite. The first one is just infinite. So the question is, which one's bigger? Which set has more elements? So one way to think about this is, at least to me, this was very counterintuitive, but you can actually make an argument that they actually contain the exact same number of elements. The exact same number of elements. So argument goes, if you put these two together, and then if you put these two together, and if you put these together and these together, and then I think you got the point, but I'm just gonna keep going for a little bit more. You can actually make a pair. And then another way to think about this is, if you were gonna actually count the number of elements in these two sets, you can count it all together and you'll just keep going. And then, so if you can pair elements in each of those two sets, don't they have the exact same number of elements? And if they do, you can kind of argue that infinite equals infinite, infinite plus infinite is infinite. And in analysis, or whatever that is, we usually call this countably infinite. Infinite. That is because we have an infinite number of elements here, but you can sort of count it in a way that you can start from, this is the first element in this set, this is the second element in this set, there is actually, you can create a set of elements that's just so big, that's just so infinite, that if you count like this, if you pick one element, second element, the third element, if you count like that, there will be some elements that you can never get to just because the set is so big. And that's kind of out of the scope of this video, but I just wanted to mention that. And yeah, so infinity plus infinity equals infinity.